Let's keep it moving here, Anthony. Looking at staying in Denver, actually, and staying in the South region. Texas A&M, you are Mr. Anti-Aggies, and A&M is a 7.5-point favorite against the Cinderella darling from last year for at least a round, the Yale Bulldogs. With a quick total here, I'm scrolling back and forth between point spreads and totals. We're looking at 139.5. There are a couple 138.5s juiced to the over and a 139 over at Bet365. Be sure to price shop the best odds over at thelines.com. I have A&M futures. If I had to bet this game, it would be Yale, but I don't think I'm going to touch it. And if I did, it would have been at 7.5 when I could have gotten minus 110 earlier in the week. So I'm pretty sure I'm staying away at this point. But you, my friend, have a bet on 13-seeded Yale. Why?
Yeah, so I think I bet the Ivy every year in round one. And I said, there was one year Penn was a 16 seed. They played, I think, Illinois in the first game, and I didn't bet them. But pretty much every other year I've been on the Ivy. The Ivies have always been good to me. And including Yale last year, which was one of my biggest wins. And they're in a similar spot this year in that 4-13 game in the top left quadrant where, maybe A&M isn't quite as buzzy as Auburn was last year, but I don't know. I listened to you, I listened to Stuckey, and we've joked about this team over the course of the last 2 years. At some point, for all the shot volume love, you got to be able to make a jump shot from outside 8 feet. And against this Yale team, who's going to pack the paint, dare you to shoot, and they're going to rebound well, that feels like a bad recipe for A&M. And I get that, I like Buzz Williams. I think he's a good coach. I think it's interesting that, he hasn't been able to recruit better floor spacers and shooters the last couple of years. And
he's never made the Final Four, which is an even wilder thing to say. For a coach that has had as much success and probably hasn't gotten enough love, whether it was at Marquette or Virginia Tech or now at A&M, maybe to a lesser degree, just because it's been less than 5 years with the Aggies, I think. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't know why he hasn't recruited better shooting.
Yeah, it's certainly weird. And the team that should have made the Final Four, of course, 2013 Marquette, but that 2019 Virginia Tech team, we were just talking about them, had a layup at the buzzer. It would have, set up an Elite Eight game against Michigan State. I think that was their maybe one of his best teams, going back to, of course, the old Marquette days. But I will say this: I think that A&M, can be a fun underdog team because of their hustle stats, because of how much of a nightmare they are to play against. But they are such a disaster to me, profile-wise, as a favorite, where they could have a bad shooting day and go 4 for 20 from 3, but for them, that's a good shooting day. So I'm happy to take the dog here, sprinkle some money line, took them in my brackets, and I even took some Yale Sweet 16 at plus 920. Because I'm not all that impressed by Michigan or UCSD. Like, if Yale had to play them, I wouldn't feel like, oh, Yale's drawing dead there in that game.
First, he's anti-Texas A&M, and then he's anti-UCSD. Just truly.
I'm not anti. I just, if Yale plays UCSD in the second round, I'm not thinking, oh, no, what's Yale going to do in this matchup against this team? So,
fair enough. I have Yale in my bracket, too. So, a little bit of a cop-out there. But Yale is going to compete on the glass in this game, mitigate A&M's ability to create second chance opportunities, at least on the offensive glass. Yale low turnover percentage, but A&M's ball pressure can seemingly, and it's happened on numerous occasions, even against low turnover teams like Ole Miss, mind you. You and I were going DMing back and forth earlier in SEC play when Ole Miss blew a 6-point lead.
It was amazing.
They kept turning the ball over, and they have one of the best turnover rates in college basketball, mind you. Zurich Phelps, if he has a Texas-like performance like he did in the second round against the Longhorns, shooting 2 of 19 from the field, A&M is going to get bounced. I would argue of the higher seeded teams, 5 and below in the tournament, A&M has the highest ceiling and the lowest floor, because if they get to the Sweet 16 against Auburn, granted, the spot was great when they beat him a couple weeks ago, with Auburn seemingly having nothing to play for. But A&M could win that game again because of Auburn's inability to clean up on the defensive glass, like was the issue last year. And it didn't matter because Auburn lost and Chad Baker-Mazara threw the game in the first round. But, as you said, A&M could also lose in the first round. Truly a fascinating case study when it comes to a coach. I don't want to say as heralded because, like we said, Buzz Williams hasn't gotten as many flowers as he's probably deserved. But still, a coach who's had a lot of success, a veteran-laden team. Wade Taylor can go off for 35 against Yale, and like Zurich Phelps, could shoot them out of the first round and take a 30-foot jump shot down by 3 with 27 seconds left on the shot clock.
You only have to go back to last year. I mean, remember the A&M Houston game? How insane that was? I think they were down.
He covered
9. They were down 9 with like a minute or 2 to go, and their ball pressure. All of a sudden, you looked up. You're like, "Wait, it's tied." I think they hit like 2 crazy threes at the buzzer. I don't remember the whole scenario, but there was definitely a player. It was like he only made 4 threes all year or something.
Anderson Garcia.
It might have been. It might have been.
That was wild.
It was a wild game, and that was with a top 5 team in the country. So you see the ceiling. They're annoying to play, but if they're laying 7.5 against a well-coached Yale who can match up well with them, I'm happy to take it.